Well, hey, everybody, this is Robert, and welcome to today's show. And today I wanted to look at a news story about anthrax that was a little bit more unusual than others. And I think you may find it interesting. You may also find it unusual. And the story goes like this. And this is out of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, um, a country that deals with a lot of outbreaks of infectious diseases. And here in South Kivu, this is from 7 Sur 7. It's a local newspaper in the DRC. And this is uh, translated to English for me. And it says South Kivu, 9 people suffering from a so-called coal disease, including 2 dead after consuming the meat of a guinea pig in Calais. And it goes on to say that uh, these people ate the meat of guinea pig, and that's what I found was unusual. I didn't know people did that. And the 7 that have survived so far are being treated in local medical facilities, and they appear to be doing better. They call it coal disease in the title. Let me go back to that, coal disease. And I imagine what they mean there is anthrax got its name, Bacillus anthracis, from the word anthracite, which is another name for coal. And they say, Jules Bahati reassures that this disease is already under control and the health of the 7 other people are progressing well. They're calling on the people to stop eating guinea pigs that are over 5 years old. The patients that were affected by this disease initially showed signs such as vomiting and diarrhea. So anyway, unusual story. I wanted to take a look at it and its connection with guinea pigs. So let me go ahead and move on to the next article so we can get a better idea of what's going on with its connection to guinea pigs. And this is what I found. This is an organization called People in Need. Hopefully you can see that. And the title of this article, I think it's from 2018, is Combating Malnutrition in DR Congo with Guinea Pigs. And it goes through and talks about some personal stories of what's going on there. And then it specifically talks about guinea pigs. And it says, another popular approach to combating malnutrition is through guinea pig farming. These furry creatures offer a much-needed source of protein as well as micronutrients and can increase household food security more rapidly than conventional livestock such as pigs and chickens. Furthermore, they are small and easy to hide and thus well-suited to conflict zones where extreme poverty and widespread lawlessness mean that the looting of larger domestic livestock is commonplace. And DRC is, yes, well known for having, conflict zones. The animals have other advantages. They can be fed kitchen waste and a relatively low-cost investment compared to other livestock. Crucially, they reproduce quickly, with females giving birth to multiple litters that total 10 to 15 offspring per year. Another advantage is that they also suffer from fewer diseases than pigs, chickens, or rabbits. Plus, in the event of disease outbreaks, their high reproduction rate means populations have a much shorter recovery time. All right, so that's so that kind of sheds a little light on why these people in this area of South Kivu in Democratic Republic of Congo were eating guinea pigs. Let me go ahead and now the one thing that I found was interesting is the 5-year thing, and I cannot figure out why he said that, other than the fact that I don't know, they have a greater chance of being out in the environment. I'm not really sure. That's I don't really know the answer to that. Sorry. Anyway, let me go ahead and move on to the next thing and just give you a little brief um, outline on some information about anthrax. And I want to go over how people can get anthrax. I want to go over the different types of anthrax. How people get anthrax? Well, there's several ways. Uh, you can get it by breathing in spores. And remember, that's how the bacteria is in the environment. They are spores. They're this environmental resistant form of bacteria. And then when they get into the body, that's when they'll germinate, they'll multiply, and spread throughout the body. They have toxins. They produce toxins and cause really, really severe illness. So, as I was saying, people get anthrax by breathing in spores, eating food or drinking water that is contaminated with spores, and we see that, as in this case in the DRC, but we see that in a lot of other countries when we see outbreaks. That's the reason. They ate a sickly cow or some other animal. And that's frequently the reason why there may be anthrax outbreak in a particular village. And you can also get spores in a cut or a scrape in the skin. Working with infected animals or animal products. I remember some years ago, they had an outbreak, I think it was in New Hampshire, where people were making drums and they contracted anthrax by working with the animal skins that were in which there were spores on them. Again, eating raw or undercooked meat from infected animals. That's probably the thing that I cover most on the website outbreaknewstoday.com. And there's also a newly discovered type of anthrax called injection anthrax. And we've seen that in Northern Europe, and that's linked to people that are injecting heroin that's been tainted with soil or something that has the anthrax spores. And let me go on to one last slide, and then we'll go ahead and close this thing up. And I want to go ahead and talk about the different types of anthrax, and and they have various levels of pathogenicity. So the types of anthrax include cutaneous, which is by far the most common, and it's also considered to be the least dangerous. This is what happens when the spores get into the skin through a cut or scrape or something similar to that. This happens when people handle infected animals or contaminated animals, like their wool, the hides, or the hair. And this most frequently happens on the forearms and the hands. You also see it in the head and the neck. Without treatment, up to 20% of people with cutaneous anthrax die. However, with proper treatment, almost all patients with cutaneous anthrax survive. And it's a bacteria, so it's treated with an antibiotic, and it's easily treated with the antibiotics. Inhalation anthrax, this is probably the most deadly form, and this is when you inhale or breathe in the anthrax spores. So you see this in places in slaughterhouses and tanneries and other places where the spores can be inhaled. Inhalation anthrax starts with primarily in the lymph nodes in the chest before spreading throughout the rest of the body. Without treatment, inhalation anthrax is almost always fatal. However, with aggressive treatment, about 55% of patients survive. Then there's gastrointestinal anthrax, and I imagine that's what we're dealing with here with the eating of the guinea pigs. Once ingested, the anthrax spores can affect the upper GI tract, stomach, and intestines, causing a wide variety of symptoms. Without treatment, more than half of patients with gastrointestinal anthrax die. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's injection anthrax. This is where we've seen, I think it's been in the UK and Germany, where people that are injecting heroin caught anthrax at the injection site. It's similar to a cutaneous anthrax, obviously, and but it can be somewhat more serious because the infection is typically deeper in the skin or in the muscle where the drug was injected. It can spread throughout the body faster and harder to recognize. So, and we've seen the CDC says here this type of infection has never been reported in the U.S., but in the U.S. we see similar types of infections from injecting heroin. We've seen plenty of wound botulism cases out on the West Coast. Very similar mode of transmission as we see here with injection anthrax. Anyway, kind of a stranger story, but not so strange as you get to dig a little bit deeper and learn. You know, here in the U.S., we're not forced to eat guinea pigs, and DRC, they have a different type of food insecurity situation there, and with all of the turmoil and violence and stuff that's going on there. So anyway, I hope you like the show. Go ahead and share it with your friends, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.